Markets Edge right here on the early line is a Wednesday hump day. It's Sonny right side, and it's Joe Ranier. By the way, Joe, we're the only people out here doing these prediction markets edge shows daily here, having some fun, talking about different ways to invest money, bringing more people into the tent. I feel like we're like the early discoverers out here, Joe, making our way out to the West Coast where nobody's been before.
Yeah, I agree, Donnie. And there is a lot going on in these predictive markets here, and a lot of value and a lot of chances here, especially during the postseason. To make some profits, get in, get out, buy low, sell high, Donnie. That's what it's all about here.
That is the way to go at this point here. And tonight, game number 2 in the association for a series between the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons. Joe just told you, wait a second. I don't think this line is correct here. If we take a look at the predictive markets just to win the game outright, yeah, Detroit's a heavy favorite. Currently trading with a 76% chance to win that game outright. Orlando, if you feel they can pull off the upset, that's currently a contract, Joe, at 24 cents, which a $100 investment would pay back $4.17. If you're looking on the lines themselves, Detroit to win this game on Kalshi currently at 10.5 points, that pays back a 45-cent contract, which means a $100 investment. If Detroit wins by 11 or more points, that pays back $2.23. Game 2, Orlando, though, Joe, with the series lead here.
Well, again, Donnie, I gave you the numbers here, and it was not good for Detroit outside of Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham obviously got his, but it wasn't enough because nobody else stepped up for Detroit. Where was Duran? Where was Thompson? Where were all the other guys that were supposed to support him? The problem is they were getting manhandled in the paint. I mean, they got outscored brutally in the paint in that game. So to me, the biggest edge going into this game, because the public believes, zigzag, no way Detroit's going to lose 2 at home. Well, okay, Detroit may not lose tonight, but that doesn't mean because of what we saw from game 1, they're automatically going to win and cover this game. I don't need them to Orlando to win outright. I just need them to do what they did. Control the paint, be physical, and unless Detroit figures out who else is going to complement Cade Cunningham against Orlando, yeah, they're not covering this kind of number here, Donnie. I think the value is with Orlando in this spot.
Yeah, if you're looking at Cade Cunningham, you got to lean on your superstars. You know he's going to get a lot of shots tonight. If you feel that he's going to get 30-plus points tonight on the Kalshi Marketplace here, $100 investment on that would pay back $213, a little bit of plus money in your pocket. Now, we also talk about another series where Oklahoma City was the home team and the top seed. They easily handled their business in game number 1 against Phoenix, where we just talked about Orlando and Detroit. Detroit is the top seed, didn't handle their business. But tonight, it is a big number. If we're looking just, Joe, to win this game outright, how about a 93% chance here, which is a 93-cent contract, a $100 investment for Oklahoma City to win it outright, Joe, only pays back $108. But if you're including the line themselves, it's listed currently at 18.5 points on Kalshi, which means if you take the underdog, which I like tonight, which is the Phoenix Suns, a $100 investment would pay back $176, getting 18.5 points, Joe. How about that one?
Yeah, well, you know what else moved in this market, Donnie, was the total, right? Opened up 212, 212 and a half, 215, 215 and a half now. And listen, that means points got to be coming from someplace else, right? And Phoenix is not going to push pace. Phoenix is not going to try to get extra possessions. Phoenix is all about controlling tempo, slowing it down, winning the half-court battle. They can't do that if they turn the ball over 17 times again, giving up 34 points, free points, really, for OKC. OKC didn't shoot all that great there. The game just got out of hand in a hurry. And listen, when it opening at 19 and a half, and now we're down to 16 and a half, 17, the market is telling you, yes, OKC likely wins the game. But boy, oh boy, you're paying a tax here if you think that they're going to have another blowout with guys like, Booker and Dylan Brooks on that team. So, yeah, I would only look at the points here in this one tonight.
Yeah, there's no hey, we got to win our first round series by X amount of points so we guarantee the top seed moving forward. It's survive it, it's advance, it's win by 5, 10, 15 points. 15 points! You still got an easy cover in this game if you're backing the Phoenix Suns. And also, if you're just looking to say, like I said last night, Maxi's probably going to have a good game, VJ has to have a good game for the Sixers in order for them to at least be competent there. They did. Devin Booker, 25-plus points tonight. A $100 investment would pay back $228. Superstars got to have big games if those teams want to compete here. Flip it over to the baseball diamond. 6:45 start tonight in cold Boston once again, Joe. We're in the 40s yesterday. Expect some of the same temperatures today. And also those temperatures, cold, not as cold as the Boston Bats yesterday as they got shut out. But today, New York still trading as the favorite at 56% as a chance to win this game. Boston at 44%. Is it a bounce back for Boston? Two aces on the mound tonight, and both are lefties.
Yeah, they are. And the Yankees, Stanton, I think, was 1 for 17 against lefties going into that game last night against Connor Early. And, yeah, got the Yankees on the board a lot. I think it was responsible for the first 3 runs that the Yankees got there. So Yankees starting to hit lefties much better. Max Fried's had a couple of outings here so far that, they didn't exactly dominate. I think he's given up at least 2 or 3 runs in each of his last 3 starts here. So, but do we trust the bats of Boston right now? I mean, they made Louis Heel look like a Cy Young Award winner last night. So they're going to have to do a better job, and I don't trust them to do it against Max Fried. So, yeah, I'm looking at maybe an under here tonight more than anything else.
Can still take no contracts out on some of these big-name guys. Aaron Judge to not hit a home run tonight. If you invest in that, Joe, $100 investment pays back $127. Oh, it's too much juice on that. Cold temperatures here. Crafty lefty on the mound. Maybe that ball stays in the ballpark today. Afternoon action on the West Coast, Joe. The Toronto Blue Jays going to take on the Los Angeles Angels. If we look on the Kalshi marketplace to win this game, it is Los Angeles at a 58% chance and Toronto with a 42% chance. We look at the starting pitcher on the side here for the Angels. It's Jose Soriano. 120 batters he's faced this year, Joe. How about a K rate of 32.5%? How about an ISO against? Microscopic at 0.38. How about a weighted on base percentage? 168 and a ground ball percentage close to 60%. He's been dealing, Joe. Does he continue to deal today?
Yeah, he's been dealing all right, Donnie. I mean, when you consider the fact that the Angels have won all 5 of his starts so far, he's allowed only 1 run. He's had 28 strikeouts in his last 3 starts alone. But the Angels, they hit for him. When he's on the mound, the Angels seem to have figured some things out there offensively. And they're going to have to do it because I don't know that I trust Toronto's bats against Soriano in this spot. I do think maybe an under or even a Angels first 5 bet might not be a bad look here.
Yeah, 3 o'clock start East Coast, which means a noon start out there. Early start on a getaway day here. We'll see what happens, or at least on a game that may have some functionality there with Jose Soriano on the mound. We'll find out. But in Philadelphia tonight, Joe, it's a Pittsburgh Steelers? No. Is it the Pittsburgh Pirates? No. It's the Penguins, and they're down 0-2, taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Orange Crush in effect. Hashtag ignite the orange. However, Joe, all that momentum, you win in game number 1. You shut the Pens out in game number 2. You go over to the Kalshi prediction market, and they go, 51% chance that the Flyers win this game at home, 49% on the Pens. Kitchen sink game for the Pens tonight, Joe. How does this one turn out?
Well, they're not winning if Sidney Crosby, who has yet to register a point in this series, doesn't get going. You're talking about a Penguins team that now has lost 5 straight, and that includes the final 3 games of the regular season. And it hasn't gotten any better here. So if I like the Penguins to leave it all out there, you got to like Crosby to finally get on the board here tonight. And I think that's where I'd center everything around, because if he doesn't, series is over.
Wait for some of those props to come in, but, interesting stuff like who's going to get the first goal tonight, who's going to score, who's going to get an assist tonight. Some of those things can play in. So I look at that marketplace, because the one thing that you want to do, Joe, as well as I do, if you're the road team going into a hostile environment, how do you quiet the crowd? Get an early power play, score on that power play, take the 1-0 lead, take the air out of the building. The last thing you want to do, Joe, in the first 5 minutes, when that place is going to have energy, give up a goal. And that's what Pittsburgh is going to try to not do tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers. More hot topics on the way next. Prediction Market's Edge rolls along on the early line.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put that team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series, Can he give you like two, like, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Let me understand this, Joe. Are we going to have any broadcast games on TV anymore? It's all streaming?
You got to pay to watch here, folks. That's just the way it's going to be, one way or the other. And I'm sure this will satisfy, the FCC looking into the coercion that's going on here with the NBA NFL broadcast rights? Yeah, this is all par for the course, I think.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All these idiots out there sounding off on Tiger right now. See, it's so easy to go after a guy that's hurt. He's hurt. Whether you call it whatever you want. He's got a little bit of an issue that he's going to fix. Okay? They're attacking. Attack. Why don't you all shut up and let him go do his thing? He had to leave the country to do it because of privacy? That's nauseating to me.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Now, I see him 15th, 16th, somewhere in that ballpark, and I think that makes sense, Donnie. I don't see him in the top 10. I really don't. I mean, when you look at, let's say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you start going into that, teams like the Cowboys or the Vikings or the Chiefs, and, could they take a flyer?
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Prediction Markets Edge on the Early Line on a Wednesday, hump day. Tomorrow is draft day in the NFL. Round number 1, fireworks going off. Big crowds expected in Pittsburgh, and teams will be on the clock. So yesterday we talked a lot about AFC teams and who they're going to draft first with their first pick here. Let's take a look at an NFC edition, and we'll start with the Los Angeles Rams. This is an interesting one, Joe. First position drafted. This is a team that doesn't have very many holes and certainly going to be gunning for at least a Super Bowl chance as long as Matthew Stafford in the front office agreed to a new contract extension. Let's just say they do. Did you know, Joe, wide receiver is listed at a 50% chance as the favorite right now on the Kalshi marketplace? Could that be, Joe? Are they worried about Puka Nacua flying a little bit off the handle in this offseason?
Yeah, listen, I could make sense, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire here. But, Devontae, they still have enough in the wide receiver room there. I think the biggest need for them, if it's available, Donnie, is you got to keep you-know-who upright. And if you don't, there's going to be a problem. So I think, offensive linemen, always a good idea. I'm not worried about the defense because they addressed the secondary in the offseason. So they've already signed the guys in free agency that they needed there. I think the offensive lineman is not a bad look at 39 cents.
Yeah, and also taking a look at what Devontae Adams could give you this year at this point here. We'll see how it works out, but the Rams certainly, sometimes they don't really care about their draft picks, trade away for absolute superstars. We'll see if that's the case. Maybe they wheel and deal with a trade, but it is interesting to see the wide receiver position for the Rams listed as the favorite on the Kalshi predictive marketplace. Let's get over to Seattle. You win a championship? It's just a cherry on top of the cake here, on top of the ice cream, I should say, going, who are we going to draft? And it's a close one, Joe. 50% to 49%. Yep. Both defense, but that's defensive line / edge pass rusher and cornerback / safety right in line with each other.
Kind of interesting, right? But it's so hard with them, Donnie, because who's done a better job than John Schneider over the years, especially when it comes to the draft and finding value? They are in a position, like some other teams at the bottom half here, that they will address what best talent on the board, best fit for them on the board. I think that's how they're going to approach it. That's how he's always approached it. But it also wouldn't shock me if maybe Seattle is one of those teams that's open for business. If somebody wants to move up, maybe get something. I'm sure Snyder would be more than happy to grab, a couple of second rounders, third rounders, just accumulate the assets. That's what they've done in the past here. But I think it's going to be best need and best available in each round for Seattle here tomorrow night.
It's one of those franchises that won a Super Bowl with a general manager, changed some pieces up, won another Super Bowl. That's a sign of a guy that can certainly adapt with the times, different quarterbacks. Not just like, hey, I got Patrick Mahomes as a 20-year-old, and yeah, we won a couple Super Bowls. They've done it with multiple quarterbacks, 2 different times, and away they go. One of the best organizations in the NFL, and a tough NFC West this year. Keeping it in the NFC West, how about those San Francisco 49ers, first position drafted here? And looks like we're throwing some darts, Joe. Why? Offensive lineman, 47% chance. Wide receiver, 44% chance. Defensive lineman / edge pass rusher, 37%. The wideout's interesting here because Brandon Ayuk not going to be on this football team any longer. They had Deebo Samuel in the past. He's obviously no longer there. And now they're saying, how can we rebuild this with a young core that we like? And maybe it is a wideout, Joe. Where do we think the Niners are going first draft pick for them?
Yeah, the Niners do have some concerns in a number of different spots, right, that they're going to need. I think their secondary is a huge need. I think safety is a monster need for them. They need help. And they got to get an upgrade there because they got beat pretty good there in the secondary last year. They signed Trent Williams, right? They just signed him up, and which is great. But they also need, you had mentioned there, some wide receiver help if available, but I think they can always, it's nice that you signed Trent Williams, but it was for only 2 years, Donnie. What's next after that? This wouldn't shock me if this is a draft, Donnie, where they start building for the future and get some of those replacements on the offensive line, especially with Shanahan, who's an OC here, and he understands what the offensive line means to that team.
Speaking on the O-line here, we'll talk Detroit Lions. Whether it's cutting players, injuries, or just guys flat out retiring, you're going to need some help on that Detroit Lions front level because they're usually one of those physical teams in the NFL, both defensively and offensively. And if we take a look at Kalshi this morning, Joe, how about this? A 73% chance that Detroit goes offensive lineman with their first pick, cornerback and safety next, defensive lineman edge after that. Both only listed at 10%. Looks like Detroit's looking for the big meat on the front line here, Joe.
Well, and Detroit has said that their biggest needs are, offensive tackle and defensive end, the edge guys on both sides of the ball, because these 1-year deals and patchwork that they're trying to figure out. I mean, they kind of got surprised when Ragnow hung it up before the season last year. That offensive line was an issue this year for Detroit. So, but they will absolutely, if there is a rusher, an edge rusher that they can, that they feel can fill the need, they'll go that route too here. So wouldn't shock me though, as best available, I think the offensive line will be the first need.
Green Bay traded a player away from free agents, or traded a player away to Philadelphia here for some draft pick help at wide receiver. Also lost Romeo Doubs there to the New England Patriots. Now we take a look at the first position drafted. Oh, it's probably going to be wide receiver. No, it's only 11%. Cornerback safety, 60% here listed for the Green Bay Packers, followed by defensive lineman / edge pass rusher.
Yeah, I think their number one goal there is to get more playmakers. I still think they're still chasing more playmakers here, and I think that's what it's going to be because Jordan Love needs some reliable playmakers that are available, and they're not winning anything in Green Bay if they can't score. So, yeah, I think they'll get their tight end back. I think the wide receiver spot is huge for Green Bay in this draft.
Philadelphia, some holes they want to fill on their defense, maybe so, but the Eagles love the draft offensive line, and of course, their first position drafted. You have a first-round pick, obviously. Offensive lineman listed at 63%, followed by defensive end pass rusher at 27%, then wide out at 20%. They picked up a couple free agents and made some trades, but they are essentially going to lose A.J. Brown in June, and away we go. Tight end also, one of those spots to keep an eye on, only trading at 12% here right now, Joe.
A lot of defensive help for your Eagles in this draft, Donnie, and I think this is going to be defensive first for them, and then whatever else may come after that, like you said, offensive line. But I think they'll be spending a lot of time in this draft looking at the defensive side of the ball.
Wheeling and dealing, that's Howie Roseman, and we're going to be back after this short break to talk some NHL action. What's going on tonight? Prediction Markets Edge on TEL. Right back. Stanley Cup playoffs in full effect, having some fun watching. Some of the big teams playing well, some teams that you didn't think might be down 0-2, like the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are. So where does the value come from, Joe, now when looking to invest in the NHL Stanley Cup champion here? Take a look at Polymarket. The favorite right now is the Colorado Avalanche, buoyed by their 2-0 series lead against the Los Angeles Kings. They're currently trading, Joe, at 25%, followed by Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Edmonton behind them. Any looks, Joe, outside of the Colorado Avalanche, you know what? I think it's worth the price to pay here.
Well, that's the problem, Donnie. You're paying full freight here because the market already knows they're the best team in the NHL. But here's the problem. President's Trophy teams historically aren't very good in finishing the job, Donnie, across the board. And listen, barely won again last night, 2-1 in overtime against the LA Kings, who are giving them everything they can handle. But if you're looking for value, which is what we want, call me crazy. I mean, I know Vegas lost last night 3-2 to Utah. That series is 1-1, but I still think Vegas has the experience. They've got a new head coach, crazy enough, and they know what it takes in order to take it all the way here. So I think the value still lies with the Vegas Golden Knights if you're looking for, not a -3 or a -400, favorite, which is exactly what Colorado is.
Eastern Conference champion here on Polymarket, Joe. It is the Carolina Hurricanes, trading at 36%. Why? Because they're up 2-0 series lead on the Senators here, followed by the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are in an even matchup here with the Canadians, tied 1-1. Sabres 1-1. Philadelphia Flyers 2-0. Is it coming down to Carolina and Tampa, Joe? Or can the Sabres say, you know what? Our season wasn't a fluke here. We're just as good as everybody else.
Well, I happen to think, and I had said this yesterday, Donnie, talking to somebody that, Tampa, after losing game one, all of a sudden their price was around 50 cents just to win the series against the Montreal Canadiens there. And if you took Tampa at that price, you're feeling better right now. And that's exactly what I would do. Tampa Bay is going to have their hands full with Montreal. We've seen that, right? But listen, Tampa gets by. I would buy in now, and I'd look to sell after they advance out of this round or even the next round there, because I'm not sure they're going to be able to get by Carolina. But I certainly think you can get them at a pretty good price now. Buy sooner rather than later with Tampa.
And by the way, the Sabres, who did take a loss last night to Boston, even up their series, you buy in now, trading at around 12 cents here. $100 investment pays back $771 on the Sabres to win the Eastern Conference. Let's flip it over out west. And as we noticed and told you about, Colorado with a 2-0 series lead. They are the favorites to be the Western Conference champion, currently trading, Joe, at 39% to do that, followed by the Vegas Golden Knights, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Dallas Stars. I always loved Edmonton, Joe. 17 cents their price currently here. $100 investment on Polymarket would pay back $588 here, but is Colorado just too fast, just too strong?
Well, and this is another reason why I had mentioned Vegas here, Donnie, because path matters more than how good you are, right? So history tells us, as good as Colorado is, President's Trophy winner, they're going to throw up all over themselves at some point. But they're also going to cannibalize each other. Think about it. The other great teams, Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota. Well, Minnesota's playing Dallas, right? I think the path is easier for Vegas here in order to give yourself an opportunity to buy in at this price. And then, shocker, they could very well be playing in the finals, at which point you would have bought low and you'll have an opportunity to sell high on the Vegas Knights.
Team to advance to the second round is a marketplace you can use here on Polymarket. I find an interesting one on the Philadelphia Flyers. Yes, they're up 2-0, and Pittsburgh looks old and dead at this point, and the Flyers have home ice advantage. They should win that series, but the Flyers aren't notorious, Joe, for making the playoffs year in, year out with this crew, knowing how to close out a series. The reason I bring it up is, yes, I'm rooting for the Flyers, but, Joe, a no price to advance to the second round for the Flyers, $100 investment pays back $415. And if the Penguins win tonight, which is basically a toss-up, that number is going to change drastically. I'm not hating on my Flyers. I'm cheering them on. But I thought that price point was interesting for a team that we probably didn't think would be in this spot, let alone be in the playoffs.
Correct here. And we got a lot of teams with, no experience playing teams with experience here. And that's the problem with Buffalo right now, is that you've got a team that, this is not a team that has been there and done this before. I think, Donnie, at this point, I'm looking at teams with experience. The Avs advancing, Vegas advancing, the Hurricanes advancing here, maybe even the Penguins here at this point with how much experience they have. I think teams that have been there and done that have an edge heading into the second round.
And Buffalo tied up at 1-1 with Boston. If they can win this series, a $100 investment would pay back $164. Exciting times on the ice tonight. The NHL, yes, the NBA, of course, and tomorrow we'll get much more into the NFL draft because it's draft day in the NFL. That'll do it for PME today. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put that team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you two, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Let me understand this, Joe. Are we going to have any broadcast games on TV anymore? It's all streaming?
You got to pay to watch here, folks. That's just the way it's going to be, one way or the other. And I'm sure this will satisfy, the FCC looking into the coercion that's going on here with the NBA NFL broadcast rights. Yeah, this is all par for the course, I think.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All these idiots out there sounding off on Tiger right now. See, it's so easy to go after a guy that's hurt. He's hurt. Whether you call it whatever you want. He's got a little bit of an issue and he's going to fix. Okay? They're attacking. Attack. Why don't you all shut up and let him go do his thing? He had to leave the country to do it because of privacy? That's nauseating to me.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Now, I see him 15th, 16th, somewhere in that ballpark, and I think that makes sense, Donnie. I don't see him in the top 10. I really don't. I mean, when you look at, let's say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you start going into that, teams like the Cowboys or the Vikings or the Chiefs, and, could they take a flyer?
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.